Hi, I'm Kenneth WAJDA. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my photography talks. So today I'm going to talk about a technique where you are on. Your camera is on, you're at the ready, and in a flash you can get anything. So the settings that I typically use with a Nikon D610, which is my go-to camera, and I'll do another talk someday on the difference between Leica and Canon, and which is I find better for street photography. But the Nikon is what I'm using for street with a 20mm often. Sometimes with a 50, but the 50 is a manual focus lens that I prefer because it's a 1.2 and I can use it for low light. But the truth is, the 50 was a great lens to walk around Vegas with because there's so many people and so many distances. But for normal street photography, I'm using a 20 because I want to feel like I'm with these folks. I want to feel like I'm right there with them. And this photograph, I was photographing at an Italian festival. It was in Denver. It's a lot of Italian families at a church coming together and playing games of chance and betting. And they could win things like cookware and sausages. Yes, I said sausages. And that was one of the things that I found fascinating. And I photographed people playing the games of chance. But at one point, I was standing there and I looked over and I saw a guy with a Sony DSLR with a giant 85 1.4, something really large, really big. And I said, oh, I'm going to go over and say hello to him. And I went over and said hello. And as I'm talking to him, out of the corner of my eye, I see a man with a sausage. And it's one of my favorite photographs that I've made. It's a photograph of brilliant late afternoon sunlight. Photo will be in the links below. Brilliant late afternoon sunlight, and there's a bunch of people walking along. Guy in the upper left corner kind of helps create better composition than just the man alone. But there's a man carrying a sausage, and that's his winnings. And that's the interesting element that makes you go, what is that? And to me, that was a fleeting moment. I was literally talking to this person with their camera, asking them what they're working on, what are they shooting, and I see that. And the camera is already on. It's already set to aperture priority at f8. It's already set with back button focus, and I literally just pointed it, back button focus, and shot, and went right back to my conversation. And that's a beautiful thing that you can be that ready. When you hear stories of Robert Frank and Cartier-Bresson and how they could almost be like fluid with one motion, take a picture and keep going. Well, that's the beauty of creating something that you're that attuned to, and it's so on the fly. But I don't think I can get that with my Leica. I feel like I want to focus it, and it's a much more deliberate element. I guess I'm not using zone focus as much on a Leica as I want to do critical focusing, but when it comes down to the Nikon, that's the one that I find that I am right on with. I can just back button focus and shoot. And I know the exposure is going to be right. I know that the focus is going to be on. It's a 20mm, and the wider the lens, the easier it is to get focus. Really, it's very, very simple. And I love the fact that I can trust that situation, that anytime I'm anywhere, if I'm driving along and put the camera out the car window, if I'm standing anywhere and I point the camera and shoot, I can get a photograph. Because that's the beauty of that wide angle. And at the same time, I feel like I'm right in there with them. I recently saw a blog post about a photographer who talked about how they really like to shoot with a 20 and a 21. And I'm like, I completely agree. For me, I want you to feel like you're right there amongst those people. I want you to feel like you're right there with the folks that are in that photograph. And you can experience it not from a distance, but as among them. And that's where I love WAJDA, but you really have to fill your frame with things. You can't shoot people at a far, far distance and then have them be little dots. You have to get in there with them. So that's my approach, and I really like the instantaneousness of it. So have you done any photographs where you went out and you weren't walking along and working, but you were doing something else and you saw something and you grabbed it? I want to see those photos this week. Anything that you've done that you weren't planning, you were in a place that you weren't expecting it, and then it just showed up and you were able to grab it. And if you haven't, you can go out this week and shoot that. And I want to see those photographs. Put those in the links below. Let's talk about them. Let's see what you're able to catch on the fly. And it's a fascinating thing that we have this technology that lets us do that. And I am a big fan of both film and digital photography, but for street photography, I like digital because I'm able to shoot a little bit more. I'm a little bit more conservative with film, and I only want to shoot film when I know I have a shot that I can control and I can get. But with digital, I can be a little bit more experimental, and I'm not feeling like I'm burning film. But there is something about getting one of these shots on film. So, let's see your pictures. I'll put a link to this one down below. You can take a look, see a big screen. And if you're enjoying these, please hit the subscribe button and join us. If you can support a coffee or a beer in a month, $5 or so, can you hit the Patreon and please support? I'll keep bringing these to you, and we'll keep talking photography and getting inspired and getting out making pictures. And I'll talk about the pictures with you. All right, that's today's photography talk. Have a good week. Here's to good light.